So, let's get right into it. We're talking about Stoicism, an ancient philosophy all about virtue and finding inner peace. But can it actually be a secret weapon for mastering the stock market? Or is this whole idea of a Stoic path to wealth really just clever marketing? That's the big question we're going to tackle.
It all starts with a problem that, let's be honest, we all face. Just look at this graph. See that flat line at the bottom? That's your cash, just sitting there for 40 years getting eaten away by inflation. It's basically withering on the vine. And that line skyrocketing up? Well, that's what can happen when you invest. Now, the choice looks pretty obvious, doesn't it? But as anyone who's ever put money in the market knows, it's not that simple. It's an absolute emotional war zone.
So how in the world are you supposed to win that war? Well, there's a really compelling pitch out there from a modern author who says the secret is to use an ancient mindset to tame the wild world of the modern market. And this idea, it comes from a deeply personal place. The author, Darius Foroux, talks about growing up in a family that was always living paycheck to paycheck, buried in debt. You can imagine that constant stress, that tension around money created this incredibly powerful drive in him to escape that life and build some real wealth for himself. But, his first shot at investing was a total disaster. He put his savings into the market right before the 2008 financial crash and ended up losing more than half of it. He describes this feeling of being sick to my stomach. And man, that's something a lot of us can probably relate to. It's this kind of financial trauma that can just paralyze you. Foroux says that this painful experience really highlights what the true challenges of investing are. It's not really about picking the perfect stock. No, it's about handling the insane market volatility that just yanks on our fear and greed. It's about staying consistent when you're always hearing about the next big thing. And it's about overcoming that paralyzing fear that you get after being burned. And all of this led him to a huge realization. The answer wasn't more financial knowledge. I mean, the guy already had a master's degree in finance, but he was still terrified to invest again. So the key, he figured, wasn't out there in the market. It was inside his own head. It's all about mastering your emotions. His big breakthrough, his eureka moment, came while he was reading the Stoic philosopher Seneca. And the logic just clicked into place for him. It goes something like this. Okay, step 1, to build wealth, I have to get my emotions under control. Step 2, hey, Stoicism is a whole philosophy designed for exactly that. So step 3, I can apply these Stoic ideas to my investing strategy, and boom, step 4, that should let me finally be consistent and let my money do its thing. It's a really powerful, super practical idea, right? But it also raises this massive philosophical red flag, and that brings us right to the heart of the conflict in this whole story.
And here's the question we have to ask. The entire point of Stoicism for the ancients was to live a virtuous life. So, is taking their teachings and using them for the specific purpose of getting rich a brilliant modern application? Or is it a complete betrayal of what the philosophy is all about?
Now, when this Stoic path to wealth idea got brought up on places like the Stoicism subreddit, it kicked off this incredibly passionate and actually pretty deep debate. People who practice Stoicism today, well, they had some thoughts. And the whole debate really boils down to these two completely different ways of looking at it. On one side, you've got the modern pitch, hey, use these Stoic tools to get what you want, in this case, financial security. But on the other side, you've got the classical view which says, whoa, hold on. The goal of Stoicism is virtue, period. Things like wealth are what they called indifference. They're not good or bad, and they're definitely not the goal of your life.
This comment from a Reddit user named Rose Reader just nails the objection perfectly. They're saying, look, wealth isn't a Stoic goal. Sure, it might show up, and if it does, you can use it for good. But the second you make wealth your life's main goal, you're not really living like a Stoic anymore.
All this disagreement basically forces us to go back to the source. To really get a handle on this, we have to ask, what did the original Stoics, the OGs, actually say and do when it came to money?
And when you look back at their lives, it's complicated. There was no one-size-fits-all approach to wealth. Zeno founded the whole philosophy after losing all his money in a shipwreck. Epictetus was a former slave who lived a very simple life. Marcus Aurelius was literally the most powerful man in the world. And then you've got Seneca, who was incredibly rich, partly because he was a moneylender, charging high interest, which, yeah, kind of clashes with his own teachings. Their lives prove this has never been a simple issue.
To really get their perspective, you have to understand this key idea, the preferred indifferent. Okay, so a Stoic would say, yeah, it's preferable to be healthy rather than sick, or wealthy rather than poor. But, and this is the absolute key, neither wealth nor poverty has any impact on your moral character. They can't make you a good or a bad person. They're external, morally neutral things.
And this line, which you hear all the time, really gets to the core of it. True wealth isn't about how much stuff you have. It's about how little you need. It puts the focus right back on your internal state of mind, not what's in your bank account. If you don't desire much, you're already rich.
So, after all that, where do we land? Is this modern take a practical evolution of Stoicism, or is it just a corruption of it? Let's try and pull these two sides together. What's interesting is that pretty much everyone agrees on one thing. Using Stoic practices like emotional control and thinking long-term absolutely can make you a better investor. That part's not really up for debate. The real disagreement, the thing that everything hinges on, is this. What is the ultimate goal of what you're doing? And that brings us to this central tension. Are you using Stoicism as a tool, a kind of life hack to get an external reward, like money? Or are you following Stoicism as the goal itself, where living a virtuous life is the prize, and any wealth that comes along is just, a secondary thing that might happen?
And this actually blows the debate wide open into a much bigger question. I mean, think about it. We do this all the time. People practice mindfulness meditation from Buddhism without becoming Buddhists. We do yoga for the workout without digging into its deep spiritual roots. So, why can't we do the same thing with Stoicism?
And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. When we take an ancient wisdom tradition and kind of strip mine it for its most useful hacks, are we making it more practical and accessible for our modern lives? Or are we just hollowing it out, taking the parts that work for us and leaving behind the soul, the very purpose that gave them meaning in the first place? It's a tough question, and one that's definitely worth thinking about.